Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to another Soul Calibur video. Now today I've decided to do a top 5 list on Soul Calibur, talking about 5 characters we're most likely going to see over the course of the next few months. Now since this is a list and a somewhat prediction video, everything that I do state here isn't solid in stone, but to shorten down the possibilities and a way of making this list quite accurate, I've created a criteria for the characters to meet. Now since Soul Calibur 6 is in fact a reboot of the franchise, I'll be taking into account characters that have appeared in Soul Edge / Soul Blade and the main Soul Calibur series itself, as well as their importance to the main story of the first and second Soul Calibur game, since Soul Calibur 6 is going to be revolving around those two. So that does in fact mean that I'll be cutting out any new faces that appeared in Soul Calibur 5. Now for this list I'll also be taking into account popularity, because since this is a reboot, popularity tends to play quite a big role when it comes to re-establishing a previous existing franchise. So understandably you want some recognizable faces on your roster to appeal to fans of said character to bring them in. So without any further ado, let's actually get on to the list. Number 5, Raphael Sorel. Now though Raphael isn't the most popular character, he definitely made a mark on the franchise when he became the protagonist for Soul Calibur 2 and actually played a part in separating Siegfried from Nightmare. And with his ties to characters like Amy, who was able to bring a kind of humanity to the character, he became more complex and less one-dimensional. But during the events of Soul Calibur 3 onwards, he kind of fell off the map and he slowly started to descend from being a protagonist to an antagonist in a rather random and crazy way, as they did just kind of turn him into a vampire. Now the reason why I featured him so low on the list here is because Soul Calibur 6 is a reboot, and the thing is with reboots, they don't always follow the previous iterations step by step and shot for shot. So if this is the same case for Soul Calibur 6, which I do believe it to be, then Raphael's appearance and role in the game could possibly be minimal to none, as they've made it very clear that this reboot is a way of breathing in new life to the franchise. So the part that Raphael played in the original timeline could actually get pushed over to the side, and he may just end up being a character on the roster. Plus, if we take into account the popularity of the character, he's not that high, and the girl he in fact looks after, Amy, is in fact a character that's more popular than he is. So it does somewhat go to show the decline in his popularity over the course of time. Number 4, to no one's surprise, Ivy. Ivy has always been a very popular character within the series. Now there's no denying it that her appearance and design has played quite a large role in that, but it goes hand in hand with her rather peculiar and somewhat seductive fighting style. This in turn gives her a very unique, playful style, as she's able to alternate between her stances due to her whip blade, which really does make her very unique. Now in terms of story, Ivy has never played a major big role, as it's always fallen to other individuals, but being the daughter of Cervantes, a former wielder of Soul Edge, she naturally does have ties to the weapon of mass destruction. Now in the first game she is a villain, but later down the line does see the error of her ways and does become a hero. So we could kind of see that shift with her in this reboot, because if Soul Calibur 6 story is quite similar to that of 1 and 2, we could see this change in Ivy happen over the course of time, making her decision to switch sides a lot more natural. And the thing is, in fighting game stories, you're gonna have to fight the bad guy's lackeys before you get to him, and since the game is quite absent of this at the moment, Ivy would be a good choice for this. Plus with her grudge against Soul Edge, it would make her turn that much more meaningful. Plus again, her popularity is insane. Number 3, Salamo. This individual was arguably one of the most popular characters within the series, which is actually very surprising when you take into account that he's only appeared twice in the main canon, that being Soul Calibur 3 and 4. Now why is he so popular? Well, I believe that it's because of his fighting style. No one in the Soul Calibur series before him had a weapon that remotely resembled this. Closest thing we had to this was Keelik's bow staff, so it was very refreshing to have an individual come forth with a very interesting fighting style, as well as a rather interesting concept, with the idea of unifying Soul Edge and Soul Calibur just so he could find some peace in death was a very odd but interesting direction that the series was starting to take. Albeit not one that was too successful, it was one that did have some form of narrative towards it. Now with his deep ties to Soul Edge, he gave the character a form of awe and mystery that really kind of helped propel him to a new level, with an intriguing backstory, a large following, and really a very interesting fighting style. I can't help but feel like he really does deserve a spot in this game. Now there has in fact been a lot of rumors regarding this character and how he may in fact be in the base roster of Soul Calibur 6, so who knows, we may in fact see this immortal return very soon. Number 2, now this is one of my personal favorites, Cervantes. Now this one I genuinely be very interested to see. For those of you who aren't too familiar with the pirate, he was a previous wielder of Soul Edge, and really really was the main antagonist of Soul Edge / Soul Blade. So really he's tied quite deep into the Soul Calibur lore. So if he was to be involved in the story as some kind of chaotic force that just wants to take the weapon back from Nightmare, it'd be a great way to see these two kind of antagonistic figures battle each other for ownership of the weapon. Even if Cervantes were to lose this battle, it'd be a very kind of interesting way to see the torch kind of being passed over to Nightmare, and it would further solidify Nightmare as this extremely powerful force that has no remorse. There's a lot that can really be done with the character here, because after his big role in the Soul Blade games, Cervantes kind of gets pushed over to the side, but does still kind of remain in the roster. So really this would give the writers a lot of opportunities here to kind of fill in the gaps and give him a really memorable scene in the story mode. Now Cervantes isn't super popular, but his lore is so deep in the Soul Calibur series that really he kind of does deserve to be in this game, with his former weapon and even his daughter making it in, most likely. It'd create a lot of interesting dynamics for the character to deal with, as he's always been a very kind of ruthless and strong-headed force to go up against. So hopefully we will see him very soon. Now here are some honorable mentions before I get to my number 1 spot here, and I'm putting a few of them here because they're either quite obvious or they would have ended up tying with the number 2 and 3 spot on this list here. Yoshimitsu, as he's pretty much appeared in every single installment of the series. Maxi, because he's 1/3 of the trio of the protagonists in the original Soul Calibur game that's been currently left out, so we can expect to see a trailer from him quite soon. And finally Astaroth, as Nightmare is still kind of lacking allies and we're lacking a real kind of meathead grapple character in the game, so I do kind of expect him to fill that role. Now at number 1, I mean, she's on the thumbnail. It's Taki. How could I not involve her on this list? She's arguably the most popular character in the series, excluding Talim. With again ties that go so far back to Soul Blade, Taki's always been quite deeply knit into the lore of Soul Calibur. Now again, like many other individuals on this list, she was eventually pushed over to the side for other protagonists, but this never ever stopped her popularity. With a very unique and awesome fighting style and a very interesting dress attire, Taki has always been a fan favorite. Being responsible along with Sophia for defeating Cervantes, she's very intertwined into the story, so not having her actually be in Soul Calibur 6 wouldn't feel right. And a good example of this was in Soul Calibur 5 when she was replaced by Natsu. Although Natsu wasn't a terrible character, it wasn't Taki, so fans weren't particularly happy that she wasn't involved in the game in some form of way. So I'll be very intrigued to see if she'll actually play a role in Soul Calibur 6's story, or if she will just simply be an addition to the roster. Either way, I'll just be happy if the character is involved in the game. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you do like them, I might make more in the future. But again, it's up to you guys. Now obviously this has been my somewhat own personal list that I've just kind of put together with intriguing ideas of what we can see going on with characters that are involved in the game. And there are a lot of possibilities floating around, so I do think a fair share of the people that I've talked about here will make it to the base roster of the game. Now down in the comments below, tell me 5 individuals you would like to see within Soul Calibur 6, as I am intrigued what everyone has to say. And for those Taki fans out there, please keep an eye out for Saturday's video, as I'll be doing a video talking about her entire history. So once again, if you are interested, please do keep an eye out for that. Anyway guys, before this video wraps up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel since YouTube's ad system is broken as hell. So by giving it a thumbs up, it helps out a ton. And if you want to go the extra step, we also have a Patreon set up, and a link for that will be down in the description below. Anyway guys, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.